Check one thing. Come in,
Hello.
come in. Oh, we have a guest.
Is this where the magic happens?
Oh, yes. Hi.
Hello.
It's so good to see you in person.
You look
This is
lovely.
you. Thank
I love
you.
this t-shirt, by the way.
Oh, come on. A little fashion moment.
So,
Here we are. Welcome to my home. This is the third home I just purchased.
thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Is this your granite ball?
Actually, that's from the moon. You know, nothing to touch it.
It's heavier than it looks.
I love this. This is amazing. This is like the shot put.
That looks like a shot put from the original Olympic Games.
Listen. And then it's going to roll off the table and break.
Okay.
And that's my,
Let's just do that
my
there.
paycheck right
There we
there.
go.
Well, thank you for coming today.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome, and that's the show.
Lovely.
Hey everyone, it is your girl Mila Jam. Yes, I am the only one. And I am here today to sit down and have a little one-on-one in-person conversation with some guy I met on the street in Soho, just looking for shoes. I'm super excited to say that my friend, I can call you friend now, right?
Yes, you certainly can, Mila.
My best friend, Tom Ellis.
Hello.
Give it up for Tom. This is where we put in applause. Welcome to my show. Dun, dun.
Oh, look at those shoes. Can we see those shoes one more
Shoe
time?
cam. Dun, dun.
Oh, wow, there we go. Amazing.
Tom,
Hello.
we're here in person.
We are.
It's like you snap your finger and you go from COVID to in person.
Is it our one
It's
year
1 year.
anniversary?
It's our 1 year friend anniversary.
Indeed.
Indeed. So people might be wondering out there who's in tune with, I've never heard of Tom before, so with him being a budding actor, I was thinking, you know, we should have a conversation about what it means to just, whatever, to be involved in our friends' lives and to talk about things going on in the world and the importance of family and the LGBTQ plus or alphabet community. And I was like, we had a conversation about a year ago where, thanks to our mutual friend, Brandon K. Good, we got to speak on Instagram and we shared some thoughts and some moments, and it was really lovely. And since then, you have been so wonderful and just such a great person that I could add to my life, because you were like, let's get together when I'm in the city. And we got together and here we are talking. So I want to talk to you today about just a couple of things about what it's like to be an ally, what it's like to be a parent, what it's like to help make change and create change and just be at the forefront of the movements in general, of, you know, like of the community and just people, giving people a platform. And I want to start by saying thank you for being so open-minded and allowing people of color and people who have been marginalized to use your platform to actually express the things that we've gone through and dealt with. Yeah.
I mean, please don't say thank you, but thank you for saying thank you. But like, of course, it's kind of, I don't know. It's it feels like a very normal thing for me because that's just where I've come from and kind of who I am. And I wish the world were a bit more kind of open in that regard, but it isn't.
Yeah.
So like, this is why it's important to do this, to create a sort of safe environment to talk about things that we're not sure what we should be saying or doing or talking about, and how we should approach things, and everyone's worried about being woke and all that sort of stuff, and it's like...
And to your point, I want to ask you this very important question. What are your pronouns?
My pronouns are he, him, his.
Awesome.
And what are your pronouns?
My pronouns are she, her, hers, goddess.
Yeah, I don't say God anymore.
Yeah, that's a little tricky. I don't know if you should say it that way.
God anymore.
Well, yeah, so I'll be goddess and you'll just be him, his.
Yeah.
Him,
Yeah.
he, him, his.
He, him, his.
Yes, exactly. And so the importance of pronouns, you know, in the world today is something that I don't think we grew up discussing. It was not something that we were talking about. And this is such a conversation now to really include people in pronouns.
Absolutely.
I'm curious to know, what have you learned about the usage of pronouns?
I've learned that it's very important to people to be recognised by the way that they would like to be recognised. So pronouns completely ties into that, but at the same time, it's difficult to use new pronouns for people that have already had established pronouns before. And not that I'm saying difficult in that we shouldn't, we totally should, but to implicate, to use the correct pronouns, it takes a little bit of like, you have to kind of...
Gotta rewire.
You've got to rewire. You do have to rewire. It doesn't happen naturally. And no one, there's a kind of world in which if you're trying to use the right pronouns and you use the wrong pronouns, then not to get shot down for that.
Well, so this is a conversation about not making mistakes, but guess what? We're human and we make mistakes.
Everyone makes mistakes.
So I think, you know, most people out there are comfortable saying, you can make some mistakes. You're gonna trip up and you're gonna fall. And I think the intention is really what's more important than you nailing it every single time.
Mm-hmm.
So like if you come to me and you're saying like, hey, you know, you mess up a pronoun, it's like, what is the forgiveness? What is the intention behind it? What, you know, are you connecting with me as a person? But the conversation to keep using people's pronouns and to add them into our day-to-day experiences, I think is super important. Mm-hmm. And also makes you think about your own pronoun. And there's a lot of people who don't even think about their own pronouns.
Yeah.
You know, it's just a given and it's just something that people take for granted.
Yeah.
Which goes into something, a new topic that I wanted to kind of go over was privilege.
Yeah.
This is something that we have, the world is like in such a state of the underprivileged and privileged and what that feels like. So you as a cis, white, heterosexual, British man.
British man.
Yeah. What does privilege look like to you?
Well, I think my notion of white privilege, or hearing that phrase of privilege and white privilege especially, it's changed a lot, like in the last couple of years while these conversations are happening. And
thanks to me.
Yeah, thanks to you, Mila, basically. But like being open to this conversation, being open to, you know, when Black Lives Matter really came to the forefront as well, the notion of, and Brandon Goodman was talking a lot about white privilege or privilege and what it is to be. And it really made me think, gosh, I'd never thought of it like that. I'd always thought of it as almost like a financial thing, which is one part of it.
Right.
But the bigger part of it is more about the unspoken, about the things that I don't think about, and the fact that I don't think about them means that I'm privileged. I'm privileged that I don't have to think about X, Y, or Z that you know, lots of my friends have to think about because they were born with a different skin color, or they were born with different like feelings about their sexuality or anything like that.
How is it possible for someone like you to tap into caring about that? It's like the empathy part for me, which is something that we lack a lot here in this country, in America, in the United States. The level at which you're able to receive them and to see them, where do you think that comes from? Do you think that's your upbringing? Do you think that's just because you've traveled the world, because you're in the arts? But these are tools that I feel like other people should be adapting to.
Well, I mean, I'm fully aware that one, you know, I grew up, there's a few things at play. Certainly being in the arts helps because, you know, it's our job to empathise, to find, you know, to play other characters and, you know, feel sorry for that character or find a way in for that character.
Yeah.
So that, you know, that's kind of, hopefully as an artist, that's kind of built into you a little bit. I think, you know, I grew up in the church, as we've talked about before.
Yes.
And there were so many things about my upbringing in the church that I loved. You know, personally, I've taken a bit of a step away from organised religion these days. But I think the good side of the church that I grew up in and my family was all about forgiveness and peace and tolerance and understanding and love thy neighbour. Yeah. It wasn't about you're going to go to hell if you don't believe this.
Right.
It wasn't about punishing people.
Not to cut you off, but I think we learn about loving each other, and we learn the beginning tools, the foundation of what it means to be there for your fellow friend.
Your fellowship.
Fellowship, yeah. And that is the root of what's great about religion. But then it gets a little murky when there's a lot of political things that come into play on how you can manipulate people with it and how you can treat people with it or feel like you're better than certain people with it. Absolutely. So it sort of starts to moving down a road where you're like, okay, I'm not as connected to the root of what this was about, which is about love, fellowship, and being there for, you know, your community. Those things I think that they're important to take away from, and I think you still have those things instilled in you.
I think it certainly is, like, fundamentally in me, I would say, in every situation I try to come from a place of kindness. And that is just something that I now look back as an adult.
That's called not being toxic. That's called anti-toxic masculinity.
But it's true, and you know, I thank my family and like my, you know, just circumstances that I was brought into, that I am wired that way initially.